legendary Pokemon have been iconic in the franchise from the very beginning, showing immense power, mystery, or elegance to stand out from all of the rest. But what if we could see them before they gained all of these traits? Let's have a look at some legendary Pokemon pre-evolutions. Now, the artist today is the incredibly talented CDRX73, who you can find on Reddit, so make sure you check them out for more art similar to this. Let's get into it. And our first legendary is Ho-Oh. So we can see it's got a 3-stage evolution here, and we can also see the shinies have been done as well. And the shinies are going to be here for all of the pre-evolutions we're going to see today. But I absolutely love Ho-Oh's first evolution. I think we would see Ho-Oh, especially when we think of the first episode of the anime. It's a very graceful and elegant Pokemon. So I think seeing that first evolution with the foot in the air and the beak open gives it kind of a derpy, playful, immature kind of look, which I think is really cool considering what Ho-Oh grows up to look like. That middle evolution, I think, is a good middle ground. Those feet are actually really thick and look really strong, almost like ostrich feet, I think. I really like the tail as well. I think to start with how it's only got those 3 golden feathers, but then it's obviously fully bloomed out into what looks like Ho-Oh's tail in that middle evolution is really well done as well. But it definitely has more of an ostrich kind of vibe. It's got really small wings with those really long, strong legs. But then obviously we know in Ho-Oh, the wings are fully developed with all that color and everything as well. So that looks really cool. And then obviously the alternative is Lugia. Now, I'm not as much of a fan with Lugia. I think that first evolution is... it's missing a mouth. I'm not sure. Without the mouth, it does kind of look weird, but those eyes are definitely a striking feature for our Lugia throughout the entire line here, obviously at the end as well. That middle evolution I'm a big fan of, though. It's kind of got that same kind of vibe with maybe an ostrich kind of look with those small wings, but those big, strong legs and feet. But it's interesting to sort of see the growth of the Pokemon as well, like the feathers on the head and on the tail definitely getting bigger and longer as it grows up and as it evolves. It's interesting how between the first and the second evolution, it almost looks like the wings don't get any bigger at all. The rest of the body and the head and everything gets bigger, but the wings stay the exact same size. The head of the middle evolution definitely does look like the head of Lugia, though. We can see what it's evolving into. Next, going into Groudon now, and I absolutely love this line. I think the middle evolution in particular, looking a lot like a crocodile, is awesome. Really long, elongated body. It's on all fours. I think the steps between the first, second, and third evolution don't really makes sense though. The first and the third are kind of similar in the way that they're standing and the way that they're presenting, but the second is very different, although I do love the second, the middle evolution there. And then of course we have to have Kyogre as well. So I think all 3 stages here look really, really cool. If we have a look at that first one, it's got like a bit of a bubble helmet over its head, which I think looks really interesting. But then that middle evolution is definitely looking a lot like a shark. I think that single dorsal fin on the top of its back really looking like a shark. It's even showing some teeth as well, which we don't see in Kyogre. I do love that with all of these Pokemon, the coloring and the patterns are there. You can definitely see what the pre-evolution or what it's evolving into. Rayquaza, one of my favorite legendaries, looks really interesting. I think the first evolution is definitely giving me Dreepy Dragapult kind of vibes, because it does kind of look like a torpedo, like the little Dreepy on the Dragapult does. So I wonder if that's the inspiration for it. The middle evolution is really interesting though. Those little claws that it's got, obviously it's got that long, slender body, but it hasn't got hands yet. It's almost got little spikes on the end of those arms there. Palkia, I'm not so sure about. I'm not the biggest fan of this Palkia line here. They do look very, very similar, just getting a little bit bigger. But I don't know, it kind of seems like it's almost awkward in a way. It does have little arms with the first one. And then the second one, it's got almost like wings coming off the arm. I'm not quite sure what the intention was there, but we can see that obviously the red jewel in the center for the first evolution, the second evolution, and then obviously on the shoulders there for Palkia. I think the helmet is definitely the most prominent feature for the first and second evolution, but not as big of a feature in the third evolution there. Dialga, I think, is kind of following that same kind of vibe. It almost looks a little bit awkward. It definitely looks a lot more like a dinosaur. I think there's a bit of a dinosaur theme with the first and second evolution here. I had to do a quick Google because the middle evolution reminded me of a particular dinosaur, so I literally Googled dinosaur with large back of head. So the middle evolution of Dialga looks like a Parasaurolophus. So it's kind of got that big, long back of head there, which I guess Dialga has as well. So that kind of makes sense, but I think that might be the inspiration for the middle evolution there. I also like that the large, spiky back of Dialga is there for all 3 stages of the evolution as well. Now we have Giratina altered form. We'll see the origin form next, but the altered form is really interesting. I like how it starts as just like a little worm, but obviously those 2 main claws are coming out, and then we can see the middle evolution definitely looking a lot more like wings. It's interesting how the first and even the second evolution, that tail definitely kind of looks like a scorpion spike or a scorpion sting coming out. But then the tail of Giratina isn't spiky at all. It's just like a normal tail. But obviously the patterns, the claws, the menacing look, it's definitely there for all three lines of the Giratina. Origin form looking very similar. In fact, the first stage is the exact same, but the second one's obviously a bit different there with the wings. So instead of the fully formed wings, it's now kind of like 4 spikes coming out for that middle evolution. Then next is Regigigas. Going into the Regis now, I think this looks so cool. That green mossy part on the top of its head, which kind of looks like, I guess, eyebrows in the last form for Regigigas. But to start with, looking like a mohawk definitely gives it that childlike or adolescent kind of look in Regigigas, which I think looks really well done. I also love how the little lights, how there's only 4 of them in the baby as well. But the other Regis only have a 2-stage evolution, just has a baby form. So Registeel obviously looking very similar now. It does look a lot more like a ball. It's like a steel-shaped ball. It's almost like little steel shades are opening up for the eyes there, which is kind of cool. The Regis, I think, is adorable. I think it's the tiny little arms and tiny little legs that it's got. Definitely makes it look very, very cute. It almost looks like it would be waddling around. It's interesting how it doesn't have spikes for feet like Regice does, but I think that'll almost be impossible to walk on for a little baby. It looks very cute. And Regirock is kind of all legs here. I don't even think it has arms. It looks like it's just got giant legs with feet on it. Also looks like it would be waddling, so I think it would be very, very cute. I can only imagine what the cries would sound like for a baby Regirock as well. Now going into the birds of Kanto. So again, 2-stage evolutions now. So Moltres looking very cute here. It does look like a baby chick, although it still has a large flame tail and flame on the top of its head as well. So it doesn't quite look like a baby so much as sort of like maybe almost like a middle evolution here, I think. The Zapdos, I think, looks very derpy. I think it's the eyes. I'm not sure. Those eyes definitely give it kind of a kooky kind of look. I think the lightning bolt horns or eyebrows on the top of its head look really, really cool though. But I love that that tail is starting to form now. It's interesting that it doesn't have like hardly any wings. It's got like little tiny fluffy baby wings at the moment, especially because, you know, Zapdos's wings become very prominent and very spiky when it fully evolves, but it's not much at the moment. I think Articuno might be my favorite though. Obviously with Articuno, it's got like a bit of a fluffy patch on its chest, which the other two birds don't have, but the artist has gone full on with that fluffy part for the baby Articuno here. It's just a giant fluff ball, although the long tail feather and feather on its head definitely look very, very nice. Interesting how it's got 1 feather on its head, which obviously becomes 3 when it evolves into Articuno. Going into Suicune now, so the Johto legendary dogs. I think Suicune doesn't look too bad. I think it's definitely got the main features like the long white tail and the patterns, but I love the like diamond shape on the head is pretty much like the same size, or at least in relation to the head. Like it's very, very large, which I think works well. It's interesting the purple mane of hair almost looks like it's tied up in like a bit of a bun instead. Raikou though is very cute. I love that it's sitting down with its paws in front. Definitely makes it look like its little baby cub. It's interesting the kind of gray helmet that we have on Raikou is just a prominent feature. It's covering almost the entire head, almost like a bit of a protection there for Raikou. But I do love its little baby saber-toothed tiger teeth. Interesting that doesn't have any mane at all here. Like we did have at least a little one for Suicune. And then Entei, again, I think is very cute. It's definitely giving me like a lion cub kind of vibe. I think he looks very playful and very energetic. He's got the mask. He's got like a little yellow diamond on top, but like the spiky bits on the back and the big white mane. Even like the little cuffs around the wrists. I think I'm gonna choose Ho-Oh, Groudon, and Articuno for my favorites, but let me know down in the comments what your favorites were. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you want to see more Fakemon, check out this playlist here, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.